back to the GSMC Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Sam Menzie, and we have a great show for you today. First topic we'll be going over is the Mariners being on fire as of recently, winning 13 of their last 17 games. Then we'll be talking about Jason Dominguez's return for the New York Yankees and the impact on the team. After that, we'll be going over some Padres trade deadline rumors, Rentaro Sasaki and his recent stint with the MLB Draft League, and some Luis Robert trade rumors. But before we do all that, I'd like to ask you to please like and follow the show. We do get a number of questions from viewers, so to ensure that your question does get read on the air, please use the link gsmcpodcast.net. It really does help the show, and it really does mean a lot, so thank you so much for that. And let's get into the show for today. All right, as I talked about, our first segment today is going to be about the Seattle Mariners, and just talking about the recent run they have had, and just, like I said, them being on fire. So let's talk about it. So, as of recently, the Seattle Mariners have done the following things. They have won 13 of their last 17, and are now 10 games above 500. And it's just showing how well they have done recently. And looking at this AL West this year, we've kind of been begging for just one of these three teams that going into the year we thought were elite to finally take the reins of the division, and it looks like the Mariners have finally done that. So props to them. They've been doing very, very well, and I did want to talk about them. So yeah, let's go. So the first thing you look at when you look at the Mariners is, okay, well, why are they doing this good right now? And what is the strength of their team? And obviously the strength of their team, to anyone that knows, is the pitching staff. This Mariners pitching staff, as I've talked about on the show before, is absolutely incredible. The amount of stars they have on this lineup is insane, and just honestly is such a benefit to this team. I mean, you look at it right now, they have Luis Castillo, George Kirby, Logan Gilbert, Bryce Miller, Ryan Wu, Emerson Hancock. Like, there's so many great players on this Mariners team that I think are genuinely great starting pitchers and help this team out a lot. So I think that overall, this is really the main reason why the Mariners have done so good. And, we'll also get more into it later, but they're also 16-6 in one-run games. And I think that has to do with their pitching staff being so good. So you look at the stats of this rotation. First of all, you have the ace, Luis Castillo, who has an ERA of 3.47. You had George Kirby, 3.43. Logan Gilbert, 3.57. Bryce Miller, 3.99. Ryan Wu, 3.81. Like, those are all really good ERAs. Nothing that's incredible, but these guys have the potential to go well under that and are great, great pitchers. So overall, I think it's finally nice that the Mariners pitching staff and entire team is clicking and just doing really well for this team. So good job for them, and it's been really great. So they've done a great job with that, and their elite rotation really is the reason why they have done so well as of recently and are finally clicking on all cylinders with the true potential of this team. I mean, again, they're 16-1 in one run. They're 16-6 in one-run games, and I think a lot of that has to do with the pitching staff. If the Mariners' offense gets ahead by at least 2 or 3 runs, your pitching staff's probably not going to give that up because it is so good, and also the bullpen works out really well as well. So I think that overall, just this entire pitching core of this Mariners team, has done very, very well, and really is the big impact overall. So, of course, you have the rotation, but you also have the bullpen. I mean, the bullpen has also been really fantastic for this Mariners team and been a big impact. You, of course, have Andres Munoz, who's your closer, who's been amazing this year. Ryan Stanek, who you signed, who's been really, really solid. Taylor Saucedo, who's been solid. Trent Thornton, who's been solid. Austin Voth, who's been solid. And the thing that really stands out here is Taylor Saucedo was a waiver pickup from the Mets. Ryan Stanek was a small signing from the Astros. Trent Thornton, a waiver pickup from the Blue Jays. So you look at how well the Mariners just develop pitchers. That really does impact how well this team does and just shows how good of an organization they have become. Really, really good moves by them to pick up guys like a Stanek, a Saucedo, a Thornton, and make them into really good high-leverage relievers. So that's the sign of a really good organization there. They've done a very good job, and props to them again with how well they've done, and overall has been very, very good. So overall, when looking at this team, again, just the pitching core is so good, and that's why I did have them as a playoff team going into the year. I still think they are a really good team and are probably higher up in the AL rankings now because Simply put, the Astros and Rangers have been so underwhelming and have underperformed so much. So I think that overall this team is very exciting. There's a lot of talent here, and I'm just really, really interested to watch what they do the rest of this year. And the really interesting thing is, even though they now are 10 games above 500 and their pitching staff is great, their offense hasn't even woken up yet. I mean, it's been pretty mediocre so far. So you look at their catcher, first of all, Cal Raleigh, who's been a star in the past. He's not done that great this year. He's been okay, having a 102 weighted runs created plus, which is only 2 above league average. So it's not like it's amazing, but it's still solid there. After that, Ty France at first has been okay. Jorge Polanco, they traded for from Minnesota, who's one of their big offseason additions, has been pretty underwhelming as well. So that's another thing that's a negative. J.P. Crawford's been solid, but outfield, Julio Rodriguez hasn't even gotten hot yet. That's another thing you're looking out for. And just overall, their offense really hasn't hit their full potential yet. Mitch Haniger's also been a disappointment since coming back to Seattle. Mitch Garver hasn't been exactly what you hoped for. He's been okay, but not great. So overall, I think that this Mariners team has done this well as of recently, even without their offense playing up to its full form. So when you have guys like Polanco, like Julio Rodriguez especially, getting hot and getting up to their full form sooner rather than later, this team is going to be scary. And you have this pitching staff, you're going to have this elite offense whenever they heat up. I think that it's going to be a very, very exciting team to watch. Clearly the best team in the AL West right now with the Rangers dealing with their underperformance and all the pitching injuries they've had. The Astros were the same thing. So I think they'll, at some point, are probably going to run away with this division, really win, and try to make their first deep playoff run with this core. I think there's a lot of talent with this team, and I'm really excited to watch them in the future. And overall, it's just going to be very, very exciting to watch them and end up seeing what does happen here. Again, pitching is amazing, and that's what matters in the playoffs, so it should be very exciting. And they also have a really good farm system. I mean, there are a lot of genuinely great prospects in this system that would probably make them be able to trade for a star at the deadline. I know in past years we've heard them connect to Pete Alonso, who would be an interesting fit on this team, give them the power bat that I think they need, but also some other big bats I think would fit. Luis Robert, who we are actually going to talk about him with the Mariners in the last segment, so we'll say more for that, but that's another bat. But really, any big bat at the deadline that is available, the Mariners would probably be able to get them and have enough of a farm system to be able to part with guys to really get any star they want. I mean, you look at their prospect capital right now, Cole Young, Harry Ford, Colt Emerson, Lazaro Montes, those are just the top guys. They have more depth overall in the farm system as well. So I think there's a lot to like if you're a Mariners fan right now with the direction this team is going, with the amount of assets they have, and yeah, it's just very, very exciting. And another thing is this team is really, really young. Like the pitching staff, other than Castillo, really no one is even close to hitting their second contract yet. Of course, Castillo's already gotten a big extension by Seattle. Andres Munoz is on a cheap contract for a little while now as their closer. You also have Cal Raleigh, who's a younger player. You also, of course, have Julio Rodriguez, who was locked up for a million years plus one. So there's a lot to like about this team, and they're going to stay together. This is a very exciting team to watch for the future, and potentially with the Astros going out, kind of having a rough season and maybe are heading towards a rebuild, the Rangers not doing the best, it might be the Mariners' time to step up. The A's, we don't know what's going on with them. The Angels are always a dumpster fire and kind of a mess. So I think that overall, this Mariners team is going to be very exciting to watch in the future, very exciting to see. And yeah, I'm just super excited to watch this team right now. Again, they've done great, 13 of 17, been very, very impressive, 10 games over 500 now. And again, in the AL right now, you have the Yankees, you have the Orioles, but what teams other than that are definitely better than the Seattle right now? I'd say Cleveland is definitely better, so that's 3. Kansas City is a toss-up right now with Seattle, and that's kind of it. So I would say there's 3 teams that are better, and then after that, kind of everyone else is either not better or just a little bit of a question mark. So the Seattle team is very exciting to watch, very interesting to see, and yeah, I'm just so excited to end up watching them. With the AL, I think the one thing that really stands out with them if you're going into a playoff mode is the pitching. Yankees and Orioles both have question marks in that front. I think the Guardians do as well. So if you're a Mariners fan, you're feeling pretty good if you make the playoffs. And they've gotten knocked out the playoff a few times now. They have that experience, and once Julio Rodriguez gets really going, once Kyle Raleigh gets going, or at Polanco, Ty France, it's going to be very, very interesting to watch this team. Very exciting, and yeah, I think a lot's going right for them right now, just the right time, and super excited to see what happens with them for the rest of the year, and especially at the trade deadline. I think if any team's going to make a big move, it could be them, and I think they have the assets to do it, and it's going to be very, very exciting. So looking forward to watching that, and very excited to see. So that was our first segment here, talking about the Seattle Mariners and the recent winning streak they've been on and just them being on fire. We'll be going into our second segment here, which is going to be talking about Jason Dominguez and his impending return for the New York Yankees and just the Yankees outfield situation overall. So yeah, we'll talk about that, and we'll see you after the break. So thanks, and bye.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits, some losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip, you choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
Welcome back here to the GSMC Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network, bringing you our second segment. But before we do that, I'd like to ask you again to please like and follow the show. We do get a number of questions from viewers, so to ensure that your question does get run in the air, please use the link, gsmcpodcast.net. It really does help the show, and it really does mean a lot, so thank you so much for that. And let's get back into the show for today. All right, so we'll be talking about our second segment here, which is going to be about the Martian, Jason Dominguez, and his return. So, of course, last year, after coming up for the Yankees, one of the biggest prospect call-ups in my lifetime, I'd say, Jason Dominguez did very well for them, but unfortunately did have to get Tommy John surgery and was out for the remainder of that year, and was going to be out for the first half of this year, like he was. Now, of course, being a center fielder, Tommy John is not something as serious as a pitcher where it could potentially end your career, but it still is significant enough, being it's a major arm surgery that you do have to give a little time off and have to be out for a significant amount of time. Thankfully for him, it happened near the offseason, and the Yankees weren't going to make the playoffs, so it wasn't really that big of a deal for last year. But of course, it is affecting them now for this year, and it affect their offseason plans. I'm sure them acquiring Alex Verdugo wouldn't have happened if they thought Dominguez would be ready for the season. So, yeah, very interesting with that whole situation. But Dominguez is back. The Yankees did just activate him off the IL and option him to AAA. So I want to talk about him, his return for the Yankees, and also just where is he going to play? Because that's something I really am interested in talking about, and just kind of the Yankees outfield conundrum in a way. So looking at Dominguez last year, of course, came up with some of the highest expectations we've ever seen of a prospect. I've been watching baseball for 18 plus years now, and the biggest prospect call-ups I firmly remember watching, like when I was a real baseball fan, are Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Paul Skeens now, and Jason Dominguez. Those are really I'm sure I'm missing one or two people, but those are also Bryce Harper. Oh, yeah, I'll add him. So those are really the four prospects I remember that when they were called up, it was a genuine moment. It was a time where I stopped everything I was doing. If there was a Mets game on, if there's anything on, I watched those debuts. I remember specifically for when Vladimir Guerrero Jr. came up, I remember I was watching a hockey playoff game. I'm a big Islanders fan, so I was watching them in the playoffs back when they were good, which is unfortunately not the case now. I was watching them, and I turned off the game to watch Vladimir Guerrero Jr. take his first MLB at bat. That's how big his prospect debut was, and I remember it. I remember Jason Dominguez being at that level. This is a guy who we heard about since he was maybe 15, 16 years old in the Dominican Republic, as, again, the Martian, as some crazy baseball prospect, some freak guy who's going to be the future of baseball. Now, we all knew he was going to sign with the Yankees for a long time. He grew up a big Yankees fan. The Yankees always get these type of huge prospects, and of course he did. And going through the minors, he lived up to every single expectation. He went up to the big leagues and did the same thing. So this guy's insane and is just so good. So just a little backstory on that. But yeah, going over last year with him, he of course came up with the Yankees towards the end and had a 162 weighted runs created plus. But it also wasn't like he didn't have any at bats with them. He played pretty good amount of time there. I mean, he had 37 plate appearances, so it wasn't like he didn't play at all. Of course, it wasn't a lot, but it still was, I'd say, enough to know that he was the real deal and he was great. So Dominguez really helped ignite that Yankees offense, especially in the outfield, was really struggling. And coming up this year now, he should help this team a lot. As much as the Yankees have done great, and they have maybe the greatest duo of all time in Aaron Judge and Juan Soto, the offense after that is a little spooky. I mean, you have Anthony Volpe, who's turned into a star right before our eyes, who's been great. But other than that, the offense has, again, been kind of with Anthony Rizzo and DJ LeMahieu really struggling, and Giancarlo Stanton also being a big hole in this lineup and with his contract as well. So the thing about Dominguez is I think he's really going to end up helping this Yankees team. The problem is I don't know where he's going to play, and I'm not exactly sure what his timetable is to play the field, because what we heard is he could potentially come back sooner if he just plays DH, because the Tommy John really mostly affects you in the outfield, not when he's batting. So that'll be a thing there. But looking at this Yankees outfield right now, you of course have Aaron Judge and Juan Soto, who are obviously not going to be moved. I mean, those are your guys. Alex Verdugo and Giancarlo Stanton, of course, are the two more iffy guys. So with Verdugo, of course, the Yankees acquired him in the offseason. They said they really wanted him for a number of years, which I do. I would say I'm not going to say they're lying about that, but I also think that if Dominguez wasn't hurt and he wasn't going to be out for this year, they would not have acquired him, and they would have just had Soto playing left. So I think that overall, that was only a move they made because of Dominguez, and you would have just had Dominguez, Judge, Soto, and then Stanton. So that was something interesting. But with Dominguez, I think the Yankees thought process was okay. We'll either trade for Verdugo by the time Dominguez is back, or we'll just DFA him if he's not doing that well. But he's done really great for the Yankees. He's hit the ball well. He's played really good defense in that outfield, and he's also been a Yankee really well. One of the questions I had at the start of the Yankees offseason was, how were these moves going to play with the team? Now, I like the Marcus Stroman move. I like the Verdugo move, but Verdugo has had some former clash with Yankees fans. He used to be a Red Sox, and Marcus Stroman also, has had a certain history with the Yankees dating back to him fighting with them with social media and all that. So those were two interesting moves that I didn't really know how they were exactly going to work out. So to the Yankees' credit, though, they've worked out very well, and Verdugo's been a very valuable player to this team. So I don't think he's exactly someone that you're just going to let go, because I think he has done so well. Now, what I really want to talk about now is Stan. And Stan has simply become kind of a black hole for this team and just such a negative asset at this point. You look at his stats, I mean, he's done well this year, but at the same time, I don't think it's well enough to have that contract be justified for him. And that defense, he just cannot play in the outfield. So that's another thing. And it's just he doesn't bring much value. And he's hurt a lot. And it's just kind of become an albatross for this team. And when you now have Dominguez coming up, Verdugo playing really well, you need a spot for him to play. And you either have to now trade or cut a very good player in Alex Verdugo, or cut or trade Giancarlo Stanton, who has one of the worst contracts in baseball right now. So it's a very interesting situation the Yankees find themselves in, and I'm really honestly excited to see what decision they make. I think that overall, Dominguez makes this team so much better. He gives them a true center fielder, which I don't think they've had. I mean, Judge is good in center field, but he's just a bigger kind of player who is more fit for the corners, and Dominguez, with him being the real just type of center field prototype, I think he fits there a lot better and does that job just way better, moving him to center, Soto to left, Judge to right, and then you'd you'd probably have Verdugo, Judge, and Soto split time at DH, and then Dominguez also be a DH until his arm is better. He can play outfield, but he helps the team with that. He helps with the bat as well. I think he's such a great hitter. He's really proven me wrong. I think that was the kind of thing I was worried about. I never worried about his base running, stealing bases, fielding, all that kind of stuff. But I always worried about his bat a little bit. I didn't know if he would really translate enough to the MLB, but he's done really well with that and has been really such an impact player for this Yankees team. And I think he needs to get out there. I understand he's in AAA now. I don't know how much longer that's going to be, but definitely need him to play at this point. And if I'm the Yankees, I'm getting him in there, whatever you can. At some point, you might have to just eat it on Stan. I just don't think his offensive ability and his durability is proving to be enough for his contract, and you might have to cut him at some point, or potentially put a top prospect in some team's face and say, hey, eat this contract, which would be interesting. And I don't know if we've ever seen anything like that before, but it would be interesting. And yeah, it's just a very intriguing decision right now for this Yankees team, seeing what they are going to do with Dominguez. I think that overall is something that really is going to determine the rest of this Yankees team. And just this outfield situation for them right now is very curious, and I'm very, very excited to watch. So yeah, that is our second segment here. We are talking about Jason Dominguez and his impending return for the Yankees, and just what's going on with the Yankees outfield. We'll be moving into our third segment, which is going to be talking about the Padres and some trade rumors involving them. So yeah, we'll be talking about that, and we'll see you after the break. So thanks, and bye.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
And we're back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast, bringing you our third segment, which is going to be talking about the Padres and some recent trade rumors involving them. So yeah, let's get into it. Apologize about that. I had to turn my mic off for a tiny second because I was coughing, so apologize about that. But getting back into it here with the Padres, of course, there were some news that dropped with them recently from Ken Rosenthal's article that I want to talk about. So in the article, he said that the Padres are dead set on getting a high-leverage righty reliever, and that is really their main focus at the trade deadline. Of course, Rosenthal has also mentioned in the past in a different article and story that the Padres are very interested in Garrett Crochet of the Padres and are looking to trade for him. That was my opening segment, or probably a week ago for the show. So if you want to go over and check out that, please go ahead. But yeah, overall, what are my thoughts on this, and just what do I think the Padres need to do with this trade deadline? So the Padres are in a very interesting situation with their team, and there's a lot of moving parts with them right now, and it's just very interesting to see what they will do. Now, yesterday they became the second team in the National League West to have a winning record with a 37-35 record after a Jackson Morrow walk-off home run, and are also in the wild card spot right now, number 2 behind the Atlanta Braves. And with the way the Braves are playing, they might overtake them. So that would be interesting. But yeah, the Padres are in a very interesting situation. Of course, had a very tumultuous offseason. You had to let go of Juan Soto. You had to let go of Josh Hader. And a lot of people kind of thought, okay, you know what? Maybe they're going to take a step back for a year, kind of regroup, trade some people, and, kind of get into a little bit short of a retool, not a rebuild, but a retool. Too talented to go into a full-out rebuild. And they have not done that. Instead, they surprised everyone and traded probably the main piece of that Soto trade, Drew Thorpe, to the White Sox for Dylan Cease, a really great starting pitcher and a guy who we all expect to get traded during the offseason. So that was very interesting, and it kind of showed that, okay, we're not, that it kind of showed us for the Padres that, okay, we're not done. This is us. We're going for it. We have AJ Preller at the helm. He's a madman. He'll do whatever it takes. So it was very interesting to see, and obviously now I think it's worked out. They've had a really good season, one of the few teams in the NL with a winning record with how bad this league has been. So I like this team a lot, and I think there's a lot of things to like here. And right-handed reliever help, I think, is a good way to start for this Padres team. I don't think it's the only thing they need, but I think that it also does make a lot of sense to acquire for them. I think Michael Kopech is especially an arm that you could look out for. People have floated the idea of a Kopech and Crochet trade for them. Of course, they've shown interest in Crochet, as I talked about, and Kopech and Crochet are both in the White Sox, so you just do a little bit of a package deal for them. I think that would make a lot of sense, and would also be something that would be of interest to them. So I think Kopech would be an answer there. If you want to look at other people, I think maybe Reed Garrett or Adam Ottavino of the Mets are possible answers to your right-handed reliever question. Maybe looking to the Red Sox, they get Kenley Jansen. That would also be very interesting. So there are a few answers to this problem for the Padres. They of course do already have a good bullpen. Robert Suarez is there; he has great stuff. Jeremiah Estrada, has been one of the biggest surprising stories of the entire year, and has been a great arm. So that's something there as well. And yeah, just a lot to like about this Padres bullpen, and I think adding another right-handed reliever would help them a lot, and especially now with their rotation kind of being in an iffy spot. You've had Joe Musgrove and Yu Darvish go on and off the IL the entire year. Michael King's been better as of recently, but I don't think has been exactly the guy you expected of to be this year. Dylan Cease has been great, no real complaints about that. And Matt Waldron has been a little up and down, like most knuckleballers will be. So, he has getting a lot of marketing. Of course, if you've seen the video of Patrick Mahomes trying to emulate Matt Waldron and his knuckleball, so that I'm sure should help the Padres a lot with marketing and I guess Waldron in general. So, but yeah, overall, there are a lot of holes in this Padres team, and I think getting a right-handed reliever is a good start. But I think they need a starter pretty badly if they want to contend. Crochet, I think, would be a great fit for this Padres team. I talked about it in the segment. I think Crochet is not only a guy that is a great starter now, but has a lot more potential, has a lot of potential of being an even better starter in the future. This is a guy who has electric stuff, is a really great arm, and just overall is very, very exciting to watch, and is just a really good player. So I think that would be a great fit for the Padres. And also with the Padres, they always want to take the big swing for players. I mean, we saw it with Dylan Cease, we saw it with Josh Hader, with Juan Soto, even looking in the past, that wild offseason where they acquired Craig Kimbrell, Justin Upton, all those players back when I was, just fully getting into baseball. So I think that the Padres need to be able to bridge the gap of what's smart and what's sensible. Last year I thought was a really good deadline. They were kind of in the middle of things and didn't acquire anyone too big, but got some good arms, got some good players like Scott Barlow, Garrett Cooper. Not great players, but players that could help the team in the now. And I thought that was just a good, solid deadline. I think they should do something like that this year. I think they have a good team, but I don't think they have a good enough team where you can justify buying heavily at the deadline. So, that'll be interesting to just watch what they end up doing here. But still, I do like this team, and I think there are a lot of good pieces on it. Of course, you have that crazy infield of Jake Cronenworth, Ha-Seong Kim, Xander Bogaerts, and Manny Machado. Of course, Xander Bogaerts is hurt, so he's not really a part of that right now. But Ha-Seong Kim has been good filling in for shortstop. Manny Machado has been okay, and Jake Cronenworth has been good, but they haven't entirely lived up to their potential. But after that, Jurickson Profar has really been the big deal for them. I mean, he's done so well and has been one of the biggest surprises of the year. A 1-year, $1 million contract to being one of the best hitters in all of baseball. That's been crazy. Fernando Tatis Jr. is doing his thing. Jackson Merrill's having an amazing rookie year and would probably be top 3 in rookie of the year right now if it wasn't a historic rookie class right now. I mean, Yamamoto, Skeens, Imanaga. The amount of talent that is in this rookie class this year is insane. I think it's a debate if you should have Yamamoto and Imanaga be considered rookies, considering they were NPB stars, but, it is what it is. I'm not really going to complain too much, but yeah, historic rookie class, and that's really the only reason why Merrill hasn't been talked about more. But yeah, there's a lot of good pieces on this Padres team. I just think if you're looking at it, I think they need a starter or two. I think they need some relievers, and it'll be interesting to see again what they do at the deadline. I think the Mets are a team that could help a lot with them acquiring maybe JD Martinez to up at that DH spot. Maybe getting one of their pitchers like Luis Severino or Sean Manaea would be a good fit for this team. So that'll be interesting. But yeah, just overall, watching the Padres at this trade deadline is going to be super, super interesting and super, super fun. Again, it's always a surprise what AJ Preller does for this team and the way he operates them. So I'm very excited to watch what he's going to do. And, I'll be seeing this team live on Friday when they play the Mets here. So I'm very excited to see that. But yeah, overall, this team has a lot of good pieces, a lot of good talent here. But it's just a matter of bridging the gap between what's sensible and what's a good move, and going all in. So yeah, very excited to see what ends up happening with this team. I think the rotation's good, lineup's good, just needs some finishing touches. And the NL's been a little weaker this year with the Braves kind of tapping out. So yeah, will be very interesting to watch them, and super, super excited. So that was the end of our third segment here, talking about the Padres and some trade rumors heading up to the trade deadline for them. We'll be going over our fourth segment, which is going to be talking about Rentaro Sasaki and the future of Japanese players. Just talking about him and his currently what is going on with him. So yeah, we'll be talking about that, and we'll see you after the break. So thanks, and bye.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
And we're back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast, bringing you our fourth segment, which is going to be talking about Rentaro Sasaki and the future of Japanese players throughout MLB. So let's get into it. So if you don't know who Rentaro Sasaki is, well, you'll learn very soon. This is one of the most prolific Japanese high school prospects ever. He set the record for Japanese high school home runs with 140, which is absolutely insane. This is a super tall, super big 19-year-old first base prospect, one of the biggest power hitters we've seen come out of Japan in a long, long time, and really is taking America by storm right now. So what was interesting about him, and kind of unique that we're talking about him already before he's even close for agency, is that he did not go to the NPB draft, like, of course, most Japanese superstars do. Coming out of Japan, they want to stay in their home country. He instead is going to United States College in Stanford, one of the best college baseball programs in the country, and is going to be drafted in the MLB, and of course is going to be a surefire first-round pick. Maybe even would go first overall. I really wouldn't be surprised. So that was a very interesting tactic that he did that really was not known by a lot of NPB players that they would do. If you don't know, actually, Shohei Ohtani, when he was first coming out of high school, wanted to go to the MLB instead of NPB, but the NPB team he did end up going to, I don't remember which one it was. Of course, I have a NPB jersey back there there it is, in Kodai Senga, my SoftBank Hawks jersey, which I do love, so that's an NPB jersey there. But when he was coming out of high school, he wanted to go to the MLB draft instead of going to NPB. Of course, his goal has always been to go to the MLB. So the only reason he didn't was because, again, his NPB team at the time said, we'll let you be a two-way player off the gate, and that's really what sealed it for him, and he got that. He got that choice, and then, of course, became the greatest player in baseball history, in my opinion, at least. But yeah, so this is really a route that no other player has taken. Like Sasaki, again, players have thought about it, but really never had done it. And it's be very interesting to see if they do this in the future. You have guys like Munetaro Murakami, Roki Sasaki, no relation to Rentaro, I believe. Both of these guys are superstar MPB players. Sasaki probably coming over next year. Munetaro Murakami maybe next year as well. I'm not exactly sure what his financial situation is, but Murakami is a top power hitting third baseman. Sasaki is one of the best pitching prospects we've ever seen. If you thought Yoshinobu Yamamoto was good or had a lot of hype, that's nothing compared to Sasaki. So that'll be very, very fun to see this offseason. So excited. Please get him, Mets. Really hoping. But if those players did what Rintaro did, it would have been interesting to see where they got drafted, what their journey would have been like through the MLB minor leagues, and what their development would have looked like as well. So I think what Sasaki did, took a lot of balls, was really great, and honestly could pave the way for what MPB players could do in the future. They're seeing now what guys like Yamamoto are going to get as coming over to the MLB. They got $300 million, but you had to wait. Sasaki now is going to get a huge contract out of the draft, could get a huge extension early, and then also once he gets free agency, will get a huge contract, assuming everything goes to plan and he is a great player. So I think they're seeing this money, they're seeing the amount of press you can get in the MLB, how much of a star you can be here, with now how many Asian fans are checking into the game, and I think they're seeing that this is a valuable way of going about your career, and I think Sasaki could be the first person to do this. Very interested to see if more Japanese superstars do follow. And yeah, just so excited to end up seeing what does happen with that. So if you look at Sasaki himself, again, this is a very huge first baseman, both in size and in height. This is a guy who has light tower power. His first swing in the United States was a home run. He is with the Trenton Thunder in the MLB Draft League, where I believe kind of mediocre MLB draft players go to get their stock up. Of course, Sasaki's only doing it because he wants to get some exposure right now. But yeah, he's racked up 3 hits so far, 5 RBIs in 2 games, and yeah, just has done really, really well with the Trenton Thunder. I'm sure it's a big culture shock for him going from Japan to Trenton, New Jersey. No offense, New Jersey people, but I think that should be a little different for him. But yeah, his swing is really great. Shows a lot of power throughout it, and I think should really age very well and should become a really, really fantastic MLB player and just a player throughout this system, whoever gets him. And yeah, just honestly really excited to watch him play. And yeah, I think him going to Stanford was a big deal, and was I see a lot of Japanese baseball accounts were surprised by that, because he was expected to be the number 1 overall pick in the MPB draft, and with that, you basically go straight to the MPB right away. I'm sure you spent a little bit of time in the Japanese minor leagues, but being the first overall pick is a little bit different there. I'm sure you just go up and kind of start hitting right away, and instead he wanted to go the harder route, go through the minor leagues, and go to MLB college. And honestly, I'm really excited to see how he does match up with college. I think that the MPB is more like 4A, which is basically, it's better than AAA, but not as good as the MLB, so 4A. But I think now we'll see with him compared to college, how well is he going to do, because this is a college hitter who probably will be up within 2 to 3 years of him getting drafted. So overall, it's going to be very, very exciting to see Sasaki in his future and just what happens more with Japanese players in the future. I think that this is a trend that is going to continue, and is something that I am very excited to watch myself. I'm so excited to see Sasaki whenever he gets drafted in the next 2 to 3 years, I'd say, and what his career ends up like, and what team he gets drafted by, and how they, use him. And just, this is something that is very, very exciting to me, very interesting for the game of baseball. And yeah, I think that this is something that is really great. You need more Japanese players in this league, and getting a superstar like Sasaki really is going to end up helping out this league. And with all the other Japanese stars in the game right now, like, of course, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Shohei Ohtani, I mean, of course, the history with it, with having Ichiro, I think the game is only growing internationally, and guys like Rintaro are doing a great job of helping that and bringing a new audience. So, yeah, it should be very, very fun to watch Sasaki in the MLB Draft League. I think they are live streaming at MLB TV for free if you do want to watch his games. But with the Trenton Thunder, if you're in the area, go watch. It's very, very exciting to be able to see a guy who I believe is going to be a future superstar in the making. Again, light tower power. The analytics on his swing are insane. The analytics on the ball he hits are insane. his exit velocity is incredible. So this is a guy I really love as a prospect and think is going to be a big part of MLB's future and determining what course of action players could take. What it reminds me a lot of is Carter Stewart, who was a former Braves first round pick, but instead of signing with the Braves, he instead went to a NPB team who gave him money straight up, could be in the league straight up, in the NPB straight up, and if he did well, he could end up going to the major leagues without ever playing in the minor leagues and getting a big contract and being a free agent. That was a very interesting situation he did at that time. It didn't really work out for him, as he has now become sort of a mediocre player in the NPB, just kind of a 3 or 4 starter. I'm not exactly sure for what team, but yeah, he's kind of just become just a mediocre player in the NPB, so it didn't really work out. But I think the course of action was good and his thought process was good. So that, again, I'm kind of comparing it to Rentaro in the way that they've gone about these new things. So yeah, should be very, very interesting to watch, and super excited to see what does end up happening with Sasaki in his future, and just overall Japanese players coming over to the States as well. So yeah, that was our 4th segment here. We'll be moving into our 5th and final segment, which is going to be talking about Luis Robert and some trade rumors involving him. Talked about it a little bit on the show yesterday, but I wanted to do a full segment on it and go deeper into it. So yeah, we'll be talking about that, and we'll see you after the break. So thanks, Sam. Bye. And we're back here for our 4th and final segment here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast. And our 4th and final segment is going to be talking about Luis Robert and some trade rumors involving him. So let's get into it. Now, it might seem like I've talked about Luis Robert a good amount on the show over the past few days or weeks or so. And the answer probably is yes, I probably have, because he, to me, is the most attractive player available at this trade deadline. To simply put it, I think this is the best player that has been available to deadline, taking into affect contract and age, probably since Juan Soto. I think that he has that level of talent, and really his whole involvement with this deadline is really going to shake it up to a new level, and it's going to be very, very interesting to see where he does end up. So John Heyman yesterday on his live stream with Bleacher Report, where he always does give out a good amount of MLB information, talked about Robert being available at the trade deadline and listed 6 teams he thought would be good fits for Robert. He also said that there's more involved, of course, but these are just the 6 that he's heard and also think make sense. So I'm going to go over them, talk about how I think they fit with Robert, potential Robert trade, and what I think a trade could look like, and if it makes sense overall. So yeah, first we're going to start off with the Los Angeles Dodgers. Now, I've talked about the Dodgers as a fit for Robert actually on the show before. I don't remember the context, but I do remember that I did talk about it. And I'm going to agree with that still. I think Robert is a perfect fit for this Dodgers team. Looking at this team right now, you of course have a lot of superstars already. You have such a great lineup with Will Smith, Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts. You have, of course, I said Freddie Freeman, I believe, Ohtani, of course, Teoscar Hernandez. And you, of course, have so much talent, but I think one of the big things you're missing right now is a center fielder. James Outman last year came out of nowhere and became top 3 in NL Rookie of the Year and had an amazing young season. But he's been sent down this year and didn't do that great when he was up in the big leagues. That's why he got sent down. And I think the Dodgers may be questioning now who their future of center field is. And I think it's a good question. I think at this point, this Dodgers team has so many great players and great things going for them. The one thing that is kind of missing is the center fielder. Their outfield offense has not been great, with Jason Hayward kind of struggling a little bit. So I think Robert would be a picture-perfect fit for this Dodgers team. He's young, he's marketable, he's a great player. He's under contract for a little while and would just be a perfect bat in this lineup. You imagine having a top four of Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, Shohei Ohtani, and Luis Robert, and then also having Will Smith, Max Muncy in your lineup, Teoscar Hernandez. Just, that's unbeatable. That's unbeatable. So I think Robert makes a lot of sense for the Dodgers. And another thing is, do the Dodgers have the trade capital to get him? I think they do. The Dodgers, of course, year in and year out, have some of the best prospect capital in the entire league and some of the best farm systems. Now, this year, right now, it's a little worse than you'd expect. There still is some good prospects, not as great as before, but right now they do have Dalton Rushing, who is a really good catching prospect. A little older for a prospect, being 23, but has performed really well overall in the minor leagues. Profiles long-term as a power hitting catcher or first baseman, and is top 50 on most prospect lists, and I think would make a lot of sense to be a centerpiece of a trade here. Josue De Paula, who also is a big-time prospect for the Dodgers, who I like a lot, actually. Sweet swinging lefty bat, 19 years old only, has a lot of pure, raw ability, and again, is only 19, very young, is very raw, and I think would be probably a centerpiece of a Robert trade if it were to go down. I think he makes a lot of sense to be involved here. They also have some good younger pitchers like Landon Knack, who I think could be available, Gavin Stone, Nick Frasso, River Ryan, Kyle Hurt, Jackson Ferris, Diego Cartia could also be a part of a trade, even though he's a catcher. So I think the Dodgers do have the trade capital to get him, and I think he makes perfect sense on this team and really is such a great fit here. So I'd be watching that. The Dodgers and the White Sox already know each other's systems from the Lance Lynn trade of last year, where the White Sox ended up getting two really good pieces in Nick Nastrini and one other prospect I'm currently forgetting. So, they obviously know each other, have a relationship there, and are very good. And, Next team we have here on this list is the Philadelphia Phillies. Now, I, like the Dodgers, think the Phillies are a great fit for this. Now, going into the year, they were connected to bats like Cody Bellinger for the center field spot, but wanted to give their youngster Johan Rojas a try at center field and see what he's got. Rojas, of course, came out of nowhere last year, really, with the Phillies, and became a really great center fielder. Did really well with them. Was a great bat, and kind of gave them a future bat that they didn't really think they had. Played great in the outfield as well, but unfortunately has came back down to earth this year a little bit, being pretty horrible in the outfield, and I think that Robert would be a better center fielder for this team. He adds a lot more power, consistency at that center field spot, and I also think that the Phillies have enough prospect capital to get him. I think that their system has really been invigorated over these past few years. Guys like Andrew Painter, Aiden Miller, Mick Abel, Justin Crawford are really good prospects, and I think one of these guys would end up being the centerpiece of this trade. I don't think it will be Painter, as I think he's too good, but I think Aiden Miller would probably be a centerpiece of this, maybe even Mick Abel as well. Justin Crawford, potentially one of those three guys, and I think they have the prospect capital to get Robert. I think that this is the year to go all in with how well they're doing, with how much the Braves have underperformed, the NL East being the Phillies. So I think that this is the year to go all in if you're Phillies, and I think this would be an amazing fit for the team, and I'd be very excited to see it if I was a Phillies fan. So I think this would be a great fit for them, and honestly would make so much sense. Next, we have the Atlanta Braves, who also on paper do make sense as a fit for him. Of course, they need outfield help now, especially with Ronald Acuna Jr. being out for the rest of the season. But other than that, looking towards the long term, you don't really have answers at the corner spots right now. Adam Duvall and Jared Kelenic are playing there, and I don't really think that they're long-term answers. I think they acquired Kelenic with him potentially being that, but he really hasn't done that well. And you acquire Robert, you would then have an outfield next year of Michael Harris, Ronald Acuna Jr., and Luis Robert, and it'll be absolutely incredible. I think that he makes a lot of sense for this team being their center fielder, but I just don't think they have the prospect capital to get him. I don't think they'd be willing to trade A.J. Smith-Shawver or Hurston Waldrop for him, and I don't think either of those guys anyways are good enough to be the centerpiece of a Luis Robert trade. I think their farm system really has been weakened out with all the trades they've made in the past few years. I just don't think they have enough prospects to get him. So I think it makes sense baseball-wise, but looking at the prospect capital, looking at what the White Sox would have to get back, I personally don't think it makes a lot of sense just because of that reason, and I think that overall it wouldn't be a great move for the White Sox to get one of these Braves prospects. Next, we have the Kansas City Royals, who Heyman also mentioned on his live stream, and again, kind of same with the Braves. I think that they are an amazing fit baseball-wise, just on the field. They have a clear need in center field and outfield for a big bat in the future, and Robert would of course help with that. There are some problems with this though. First of all, they're to be frank, their MLB pipeline, which is their prospect system, it's really bad. There's no one here that I think is a really good prospect that is up to the caliber of a Luis Robert. So I don't think they would have to trade for him. And also AL Central, I don't think the White Sox would trade him in division. So I kind of think if you're a Royals fan, don't get too set on the idea of getting Robert. He just is not realistic in my opinion for them. Great fit, but I just don't think it would happen. The Mariners are the next team involved. Yes, this is a fit I love. Have a clear need for a big bat. I talked about it before. They have the prospect capital for it. Would make so much sense. Would create a dynamic outfield with him and Julio. Would add so much to this lineup. Would add to this young core. They have the prospects to get them. They have the young pitchers if they get them, if the White Sox want that. So I think this would make a lot of sense. I'm really all in for this. I think this would be a perfect fit. And honestly, it'd probably make the Mariners a World Series contender. I think this is a perfect fit. And I'd love to see this as a baseball fan. It would be very, very exciting. The last fit here he has is the Blue Jays, which I'm kind of iffy on. I understand why he's saying it, because they do need a star player to help out this team that is struggling so much. But from the Blue Jays, I'm not buying at this point. I just don't think you're good enough for that. I also don't think you have the prospect capital for that. I don't think they want to trade Ricky Tiedemann. I don't think Aurelio Martinez is a guy who's good enough to be the forefront of a Robert trade. So I don't think that makes enough sense. And I think it's good. I think it's good baseball-wise, but just where the franchise is at right now and the prospects they have, I don't really agree with it, and I don't think it would be a great move. Some other teams that I think would make a lot of sense, though, for Robert are, of course, going to be the team I talked about yesterday, the Orioles. I think they make perfect sense for him. Need a center fielder. Have the prospect capitals to get him. I think that would make a lot of sense. The Nationals, I think, are a sneaky contender here. If they want to buy and try to make the playoffs this year, getting another young, great player on this lineup, I think getting Robert would be an amazing fit. And I think that would be perfect there. I think that would be really good. The Guardians as well, if they want to get a big bat and go all in, they have the prospect capital to get it with Jason Churio, Ralphie Velasquez, Cal Manzardo, and Chase DeLauder, all being very valuable pieces that I think could be able to do this. So I think there are a lot of teams that could end up going for Luis Robert. I think he makes so much sense for so many teams because of his age, because of how good he is, and because of his contract. So it'll be very interesting to see what the White Sox do end up getting at this year's deadline, and what the prospect package is that they get back, and if they do end up trading him. I still wouldn't trade him, but I understand why they are, because they're bad and he's good, so it doesn't really mix well there. So yeah, very interested to see what happens with Robert at this deadline, and very interested to see the package that it gets back. So that is our show for today, guys. I want to thank you so much for watching. Remember to like and follow the show, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification button to not only get notified when I upload, but when all the other great content creators on this channel do. Make sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram for more content and updates. It's a beautiful day outside. Enjoy it. Have a great day. I've been your host, Sam Menzie, and we'll see you at Baseball Throws Out tomorrow. Thanks, guys, and bye.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn, ain't that great.